In my latest video, I've got 3 fascinating stories to share, starting with this gem from the Crypto Basic. Ripple's CEO claims Ripple is set to rewire the entire banking system, and guess what's at the heart of it all? That's right, XRP. No doubt about it, XRP is the driving force behind everything Ripple does. Even when it's not obvious, XRP is always in the mix, whether directly or indirectly. Just putting that out there. Next up, another headline from the Crypto Basic. An expert breaks down why XRP's escrow isn't bad for its price. And here's the kicker. They describe it as starving the market. Now, that's a bold statement and one I'm excited to unpack. It's a topic that's been heating up, and it comes from a sharp XRP community member who's been consistently dropping thought-provoking threads on Platform X. I don't agree with every take or who does, but I've got to say this person brings a lot of good faith insights to the table. And in this instance, it's no different. But I've got a few points to dive into that will really add depth to the conversation, because honestly, these are the kinds of topics I love exploring with the community. These are the very discussions that inspired me back in 2018 to launch a channel and share ideas like this. This is exactly why we're here. Later, I'll wrap up the video with something fun and unrelated to XRP, because why not? But first, let's dive into this wild headline from the Daily Hodl. It's absolutely mind-blowing. This is the kind of thing that could redefine quality of life. The headline reads, Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht receives $31,400,000 in Bitcoin. Yes, a Bitcoin donation to his crypto wallet. Imagine this. 1 year, it's life in prison. No hope, no future. Fast forward, and the same man is pardoned by the president and sitting on a mind-blowing $31,400,000 chin. And guess what? That's just the tip of the iceberg. His wealth doesn't stop there, but before we dive deeper, let me make something crystal clear. I'm not a financial expert, advisor, or guru, just a crypto enthusiast who loves making YouTube videos for fun. So please don't take anything I say as financial advice. Don't buy, sell, or make any big decisions based on my ramblings. This is all just for entertainment. Let's dive into this first piece. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse is calling on the XRP community to focus on the bigger picture rather than getting caught up in a pointless rivalry with Bitcoin. Fair enough. He's got a solid point there. Give him that. But let's be real for a second. Most of us in the crypto space don't actually have a problem with people from other communities. We're a pretty level-headed bunch. We're not out here bashing other coins for no reason or claiming they threaten financial freedom. We're not painting entire communities as bad actors. However, let's acknowledge the elephant in the room, the toxic Bitcoin maximalists. They absolutely see us as the enemy. The moment you decided XRP made sense, you unknowingly joined a tribe they view with suspicion. Sure, you thought, cool, I'm part of a new crypto community, but to them, you crossed some invisible line. Check this out. I'm in crypto. XRP just clicks. It makes sense. And so do some of these other coins. And you're like, hey, I'm part of something bigger now. And to an extent you are, at least with the level-headed crowd out there. But guess what? You've also made a ton of enemies. Yep, just for believing that XRP is legit and could actually be a force for good in the world. Suddenly, you're public enemy number 1 to toxic Bitcoin maximalists. To them, you're the worst, the absolute worst. And honestly, I don't care what people want to build, Bitcoin, XRP, whatever, go for it. But I can't stand the people who live to tear others down. That mindset is toxic and destructive. Unreasonable rivalry? Oh, absolutely. But it's not coming from us. We're not the ones obsessing over Bitcoin, the so-called pet rock of crypto. Ripple is shaking things up, folks. At the recent XRP Las Vegas conference, Brad Garlinghouse emphasized something refreshing: collaboration over competition. Ripple isn't just playing the blockchain game. They're building an ecosystem designed to revolutionize the entire banking system. It's big news for the community and might just change the way we think about finance. Unlike others in the blockchain space aiming to sideline banks, Ripple is doing the unexpected, bringing them into the future of finance. By bridging global financial institutions with blockchain tech, Ripple is rewriting the rules of the game. Love it or hate it, this is the kind of bold innovation that keeps us on our toes. It's clear we need a more efficient system than what currently exists. Something that allows people the freedom to engage in value transactions, whether through the XRP ledger, Bitcoin, or another decentralized platform. We want a world where central authority isn't always required, yet somehow, if we don't exclusively push for that, we're labeled as the bad guys. And here's the kicker. The hypocrisy is unreal. Now that banks have started embracing Bitcoin more than any other coin, suddenly the critics have gone silent. Funny how that works, right? They call XRP the banker's coin. Well, what do they think Bitcoin is then? Are you kidding me? The irony is blinding. That's probably why you've seen them tone down their rhetoric a bit. But let's be real. They'll resist anything that hypothetically helps banks, not because it's wrong, but because they just want it gone. The private firm is setting its sights on revolutionizing cross-border payments by bringing them on-chain, making remittances faster, smoother, and more efficient. Say goodbye to intermediaries, pre-funding headaches, and sluggish global transfers. According to Ripple's CTO, David Schwartz, this bold move will, quote, rewire the entire banking system, end quote, positioning Ripple as a heavyweight in the world of cross-border payments and remittances. And let's be real, XRP is the heartbeat of it all. It doesn't even need to be said. But yeah, XRP is at the center of this transformation. That's the game changer right there. Here's the thing. XRP only needs one solid use case to secure its long-term future, and Ripple has already nailed that, just one. But why stop there? XRP is a multi-tool. It powers payments, tokenizes assets, and opens up endless possibilities for personal and business use. You can stream money in real time. Seriously, it works. And guess what? People and investors actually care about that. Here's the big picture. This tech is rewiring the global banking system as we speak. And at the center of it all, XRP. XRP isn't just along for the ride. It's a key player in this transformation. That's why I keep saying it's an obvious early winner in the crypto space. And why am I so confident now? Because it's already happening. The adoption, done. The use cases, already in motion. What's left? Scaling it to the next level. As more people dive into crypto, the money flows in, and let's be honest, most of us care about one thing, the price. For many, this is an investment opportunity, not some unwavering allegiance like you see with toxic Bitcoin maximalists. This isn't a cult, and we're not here to worship at the altar of any single coin. It's simple. If XRP stops making sense as an investment, I'll sell it, move on, no hard feelings. What matters most to me are the friendships I built within the XRP community. Those connections are invaluable, and I hope they last regardless of where I stand on the coin itself. XRP, not married to it. The relationships, they matter far more, but let's call it like it is. This space isn't a cult for me or for most people here. That's what sets us apart from the Bitcoin crowd. Bitcoin community feels like a toxic, inescapable vortex of blind devotion, and honestly, it's just not my vibe. Peace marches on, with it a bold step for XRP adoption. This initiative has the potential to be a game changer, and the CEO passionately highlighted its appeal to the ecosystem's devoted enthusiasts. He stated, and I quote, "We underestimate how big this change is and how profound it will be," end quote. He urged the community to take the long view, 10 to 20 years down the line when the full impact becomes crystal clear. But honestly, it might not take that long. Right now, we're at a pivotal moment. Crypto is gaining momentum with the United States, the world's largest capital market, finally embracing it. Adoption is surging with more funds pouring into the space than ever before. This momentum is accelerating everything. And on top of that, regulatory uncertainty, fading fast. These shifts are monumental. So maybe he's right. In 10 to 20 years, we'll look back at today and marvel at the transformation. But even now, we're witnessing rapid growth. Year by year, leap by leap. This is the beginning of something massive, and we're fortunate to be part of it early. XRP stands at the heart of it all, no question. Here's the scoop. An expert breaks down why XRP escrow isn't bad for its price. It's starving the market, they say. An intriguing point raised by an XRP community pundit argues that Ripple's escrow system actually benefits the market by limiting token supply. With Ripple holding billions of XRP, critics have long debated whether this creates centralization, sparking concerns over potential price suppression. But here's the kicker, folks. There's a big difference between a concentration of wealth, what Ripple has with XRP, and a centralized system. XRP isn't proof of stake. So how much XRP someone holds doesn't dictate control. Holding large or small amounts of XRP won't magically grant you special powers or control over the XRP ledger. It's just not how it works. It's not in the code, and it never will be. Ownership quantity has absolutely no connection to centralization, yet somehow here we are in 2025 still explaining this to the Bitcoin crowd. It's baffling, honestly. Are they deliberately ignoring logic or just tossing out claims for the sake of it? Either way, the narrative persists. Critics, particularly Bitcoin maxis, love to argue that Ripple's monthly escrow releases are nothing more than token dumps creating supply pressure. But hey, facts don't seem to faze them. Some in the XRP community argue that Ripple's monthly token releases are holding back price growth. Technically, any XRP sold could have that effect. If you sell one XRP, it impacts the price, at least in theory. But in reality, who's going to notice a single transaction in a sea of XRP activity with over 6.5 million wallets and countless transactions happening daily? It's like trying to spot a single drop in the ocean. Sure, Ripple's transactions technically have the same effect, but let's add some perspective here. Ripple's sales of XRP amount to just a fraction of a percent each quarter. And we know this because they've been transparent about it for years. You can even verify it on chain. In the grand scheme of things, these sales are a drop in the bucket, not a tidal wave. When you're dealing with such a tiny volume, it's practically invisible. Ripple sales barely make a ripple, pun intended. The global market doesn't even flinch. That's how small these transactions are. They're insignificant. And yes, over the span of decades, it holds true. Think about it. You're almost doubling the XRP supply in the ecosystem from where it stands today. Sure, that's a big shift in the long run, but in the moment, it's not some catastrophic event stopping XRP from gaining value. That's simply not the case. If you look at the percentage increase, call it inflation or whatever term suits you, it's really just the natural growth of the circulating supply, not a deal breaker. Some chains have seen explosive growth fueled by tokenomics that allow for significantly higher token distribution. The key takeaway, as long as demand keeps up, it doesn't really matter. Let me point you to an interesting post. I won't go through the whole thread, but it was shared by All Things XRP, who broke this down perfectly. Here's the gist. Some argue escrow suppresses XRP's price, while others believe it stabilizes it. Now here's the twist. As the escrow shrinks and use cases like on-demand liquidity and ETFs grow, supply could tighten. Demand might eventually outpace the slow drip release. It's a great analogy. Ripple sales are like a drip feed. Over decades, sure, it builds up, but for now, it's just a trickle in the bigger picture. No one's arguing against that, but in the grand scheme, it doesn't really matter. Not when life-changing wealth is still within reach. Let's not forget, when XRP hit its all-time high in 2017, Ripple was still selling. Same thing in 2025 when it soared again. So what's the real game changer here? It's demand. Demand will always outpace any increase in supply. Once Ripple's escrowed XRP enters full circulation, how it got there won't even matter anymore. It's another point worth discussing, but let's be clear, it truly won't matter. Some toxic Bitcoin maximalists cling to this bizarre notion that any blockchain creating all its native tokens at inception is a cardinal sin. Meanwhile, they glorify Bitcoin's proof of work mining as some sort of sacred, untouchable system for coin distribution. Honestly, that's a laughable mindset, perfect for those stuck in a cult like Echo Chamber. It's for the unsophisticated, the knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing troglodytes with the intellectual capacity of a cashew. That's their target audience. Little bitches with small minds. That's who eats this up. Once everything's out in the wild, does anyone really care? Let's rewind for a moment. Check this out. Here's a blast from Ripple's past. On May 16, 2017, Ripple dropped a major announcement on their Ripple Insights blog. Ripple to place 55 billion XRP in escrow to ensure certainty of total XRP supply. Big news, right? Fast forward to December and they followed through. Now take a look at this chart. It shows the projected distribution of XRP back then. The plan gradually release almost all of it into the market over a few decades. Of course, things have shifted a bit since then. It's been 8 years after all. It might not hit the perfect note here, but honestly, it's a solid effort. At the end of the day, the goal is to get everything out there eventually. So when it's all in circulation and you're using it, whether it's Bitcoin or XRP, why would the origin story even matter anymore? Once it's all mined or distributed, who really cares how it got there? Spoiler alert, it doesn't matter. Mining doesn't make something sacred. Let's drop that tired storyline already. It's exhausting, and I'd happily tear it apart every chance I get. Now let's talk about toxic Bitcoin maximalists. They're the absolute worst. Seriously, the worst part of the crypto space. Hands down, they're insufferable, plain and simple. The kind of energy that just sucks the air out of the room. I'm hopping off my soapbox now, but let it be known, they really push my buttons. From the Daily Hodl, Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht gets a jaw-dropping $31,400,000 Bitcoin donation to Crypto Wallet. Yes, you read that right. Bitcoin OG and online marketplace trailblazer Ross Ulbricht has received a massive wave of support in Bitcoin donations after making his first public appearance since his release from prison. Quick side note, Most of you probably know who Ross Ulbricht is by now, but if you're new to the crypto world, no judgment. A quick Google search will get you up to speed on this legendary and controversial figure in Bitcoin history. He launched Silk Road, a notorious online marketplace where people use Bitcoin to pay for all sorts of illegal activities. Unsurprisingly, it didn't end well for a lot of reasons. Chief among them, Bitcoin isn't actually anonymous, it's pseudonymous. Sure, you might not see names tied to accounts, but every transaction leaves a trail. You can trace where the money flows, who's buying what, and where it all started. On-chain forensics make it possible to unravel the whole web. Back then, most people had no clue about this. Looking back now, it's almost funny how poorly thought out it was. The story takes an intriguing twist. Blockchain tracking firm LookOnChain revealed that Ulbricht's donation wallet received a hefty 300 Bitcoin worth, a staggering $31,400,000 early Sunday morning. Within hours, Arkham data traced most of the funds heading to Kraken, a prominent crypto exchange. Ulbricht, famously granted a pardon by President Trump earlier this year, made his first public appearance since his release during the Bitcoin 2025 conference, delivering a speech that had attendees buzzing. Meanwhile, Coinbase director Connor Grogan notes that Bitcoin wallets tied to Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road mastermind, still hold tens of millions worth of Bitcoin untouched since his imprisonment. The crypto world is swirling with speculation. Could Ulbricht have hidden away a secret Bitcoin stash all along? With whispers of mystery and fortune, the plot thickened. Now that he's out, it looks like he's funneling it back to himself, possibly laundering it through mixers and other tools to secure the funds. Is that true? Who knows? I'm not claiming it is or isn't, but these are the rumors swirling around. And honestly, it's fascinating to think about. I mean, doesn't $30 million seem like an insane amount to just hand over to someone? Come on, really? Over $30 million. What do you think? To me, it feels like way too much to just let slide. Meanwhile, the US government has seized tens of thousands of Bitcoin tied to Silk Road, but apparently they didn't manage to grab all of it. Crypto sleuth Grogan found 430 Bitcoin spread across multiple wallets linked to Ross Ulbricht. These coins have been sitting untouched for over 13 years, completely out of reach of the authorities. Back then, these were likely forgotten dust wallets holding amounts so tiny no one cared. Fast forward, and now they're collectively worth $47 million. Welcome back, Ross. Crazy, right? Imagine leaving behind scraps in a wallet because they seemed worthless. A decade later, Bitcoin soars, and those tiny leftovers add up to $47 million. It's wild to think what you once ignored becomes treasure. And you know what? Stuff like this is bound to happen with XRP too. Just wait. But we're not talking about a Ross Ulbricht scenario here. Never have, never will, but think about it. There will be those accounts with a tiny balance left, and years later, someone stumbles upon them only to realize they're now worth a small fortune. Wild, right? Just fast forward a decade or two, and you'll hear stories like that popping up everywhere. Crypto's full of surprises, and we're just scratching the surface. Oh, what a ride to be part of this space. Reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't make any buying or selling decisions based on what I say or write. Seriously, that would be a pretty terrible idea.